All right, today we got a really cool video, I think. We're going to be covering several different aspects of 3D printing, and that is grabbing a open source or free file, and then also doing a little bit of CAD CAM. I went on a vacation to Venice, and I bought this glass ornament, and I want to display it in my display case. So we're going to start by doing this open source file for your 3D printing. And that is called Thingiverse. I'll leave a description or proper spelling in the description. But pretty simple. You go on Thingiverse and you can go to the main page, and they have a lot of different just stock things that you can print. Or if you want, you can just search for exactly what you want. So I was searching for an ornament stand, and I found one that I liked. Very simple. And what you do is you just click on it, and a lot of these pre-designed 3D printed files come in separate parts because that's just the way the 3D printer works. It'll make sense a little bit later. So you select which one you want. You scroll down to the file that you need. I use what's called an STL file. Maybe your 3D printer uses something else, but STL is very common. And there are two parts of this ornament stand. One is kind of a curly Q one that actually holds the ornament, and then the other one is the cross member for the base. So you need to download both of those, or whatever you're downloading. You got to download each file. Sometimes there's 3, 4, 5, 8 files. Sometimes it's just one. So you just got to download those, and you save those onto your computer somehow. And that brings us to the next stage, which is our slicing program. And in order to 3D print, you have to take your CAD file. And again, this was just open source or free, downloaded from Thingiverse. And you simply open using the File tab on the left-hand side in the program that I'm using, which is called Cura from Ultimaker, and that is free. And you want to bring those files into the printable area. So this box right here is showing you basically the printable area on your 3D printer, because it prints sideways and also vertically and horizontally, so up and down. So sometimes when you're doing two files, you have to drag and drop those two files, if you want to print them at the same time, onto the printable area. So you'll see where it says Ender there on the bottom. That would be the bottom of the 3D printer. The plate, I guess you might say, for lack of a better word. And this program will allow you to look all around in 3 dimensions and to make sure that it's in the right area. It also will allow you to print in several different types of quality. Usually regular quality is just pretty good. And the higher quality that you build, it uses a little bit more material. They call that filament. And it takes a longer time. So if you go down to regular quality or below, it uses less material to print. So what you do is you hit slice once you're happy with all of your settings, and you simply save that to your file. And what I do is I save it to a removable file. So this is what it's going to look like. I'm giving you a little teaser. And the part that held the bulb is on the left-hand side, but this custom-made Venetian glass bulb actually came with a little pamphlet. So I want to design, I could not find a little card or pamphlet holder, and I'm going to design my own on CAD. Now this program is called Tinkercad, and it is very basic. I am not a CAD CAM designer, but this is basically very basic shapes, and you can literally drag and pull and subtract. So here's a red box, for example. You take whatever shape you want from the right hand side of objects, and you place it on your work plane, and You can literally stretch it by kind of clicking on the different areas on the object. And then what this does, this program, is it's basically like I said, a stretch, program. You can make the box bigger or smaller, but then you can also add and subtract. And the way that this does that is you'll notice that I'm bringing over a different shade of object. And this is kind of like a transparent type of object. So if you want to remove something from what you want to have printed, you will bring that transparent object over, and then you what's called group them. And the way you group them is you click on your first object, which would be the red square. You hold the shift button down, and then you click on the transparent object, which you're going to be removing. Okay? And then you go up to that little button that says group. You can do that, or if you want, you can also highlight both of them and then hit group, and it'll simply subtract. So this little program also comes with a lot of different stock items, and you can get on there and fool around. Letters, little corkscrews, tires, little figurines. So this is just an example, but excuse me, this is the letter C. So if you wanted to bring the letter C over, you just drag and drop it, and then you can obviously increase the size. So on to our actual project. What we're going to be making today is this little card holder or small pamphlet holder that came with the glass ornament. And I just grabbed a wedge from the stock but basic shapes on the right hand side. You simply click on it and drag it over, and I grabbed the wedge and then increased the height of it to correspond to the height of the pamphlet. These are in millimeters, so if you're in the United States, you got to do a little bit of math and recalculate the millimeters or centimeters over into standard inches. So what I'm doing here is I'm using that basic blue wedge. I stretched it higher. And then I want to remove part of the back of the edge. So what you do is, again, you grab the kind of negative image from the right hand side of the basic shapes and you put it into place. Okay? And I don't want to remove all of this. I just want to shave off a bit. So you can actually rotate the portion that you want to have removed. So you can see me kind of rotating that transparent box, and that's going to be your subtract. So you're going to subtract whatever is covered by that transparent area, the box or other shape, is going to be subtracted from the area that's going to be printed. So in this case, the blue triangle. And you can simply drag it and pull it into size. And I like to move the work plate around and just to make sure I'm getting this in the right place. And then once you're happy with what you want to subtract from what you have, you can group them, and you hit that group button. And what that group button is doing is it's simply subtracting the negative image from the positive image, if that makes sense. Now the group button will also join two shapes together as well. And I wanted to add a couple other features to this. So I grabbed a cylinder, and sometimes you have to search for where this thing is. It's free, so it takes a little bit of getting used to. And you can fool around with the size, drag it, drop it, that kind of thing, stretch it until you get it into place. And then it's the same format. Once you get this other image into place, or this other shape into place, you simply group them together. And again, you can click on the main shape that you want to group, hold the shift button down, and then click on the other button that you want to join to it. And then go up and hit the little button that says group. Or you can simply highlight them with a box with your mouse and then hit group. So either one is fine. So what I'm doing here is on the top, I was going to put a little cylinder to the top, And then I also have a little cylinder on the bottom that's actually going to hold the card. So, you know, I don't use this program a lot. So, you know, it's one of those things where you have to just get used to it. And once you do, then you'll get much more proficient. So, you know, stretch it to whichever dimensions that you want, whatever size that you want. You'll notice that it actually has a little number right there. So if you don't want to stretch, you can actually put in the exact dimension that you want. So if you want this to be 5 millimeters wide, you just click on that little part and you type in 5 millimeters. You can see the numbers there in the little white boxes. So you can do it either way. So this is a very rudimentary, probably almost the basic CAD design program that I found, and it's also very free. So you can have an account on it that's free. You don't have no subscription, no credit card, anything like that. And you can save your files as well that way. So I'm not a CAD CAM guy, so this is about the extent of my talent, which is very little. So hopefully this is a beginner kind of tutorial for some 3D printing for people that enjoy that. There are other programs that you can do for CAD. I think Fusion 360 is a popular one that's kind of like free or open source. I apologize if I'm not using those terms correctly. But I tried that. It's beyond my meager capabilities. I'm sure with some practice and that kind of stuff, you know, it's a better program probably. You can probably do more things with that. This is very rudimentary. So anyhow, I'm moving this around. You can see that I'm bringing the little cylinder to the proper width that I want. That will match my little card holder. And I'm going to highlight both of these areas and then hit the group button. And what that's going to do is that's going to make that cylinder and then that blue wedge into one. So what that's going to do is that's going to tell your actual 3D printer that that's what you want printed, and they're not two separate pieces. So here I'm just drawing a box around it with my cursor, and I'm hitting that group. So now you can see that they're both now the same color, and they're both connected now. So as an aside on the actual printing part of this, it didn't work out well because there wasn't enough of a connection. So unfortunately, this didn't turn out the way I wanted with the little cylinder on top. But that's how you do it. Okay, so now I have my kind of angled edge where my little pamphlet is going to rest. But I need a little bit of a support so it just doesn't fall over. So again, I'm just grabbing a stock image, in this case a red box, and I'm dragging it over to the work plane. And I'm just going to stretch it to whatever dimensions that I think are appropriate. So in this case, I'm going to smush this red box down, and now it's no longer a cube. Now it's a rectangle. And you can move it into place, and we're going to do the same kind of technique where, you know, you can push it into each other there, and then you group them together. And now your slicing program, which we'll get to in a little bit, voila, thinks that it is one image or one piece that is to be printed. So this is a pretty nice little program. I did some other things to it. I didn't want to belabor the point on the Tinkercad too much, but get on there and tinker around. You'll find that it's pretty easy to do. Even for basic people that don't have training. I did actually add a Venice lettering. They have text that you can do in that little program. And then on the bottom, I added a little bit of a card support. So what you do this is back in Cura. So you save that file from Tinkercad, and then you opened it up in Cura, which is your slicing program. And I kind of sped through that because we already covered it with the Thingiverse file. And you just save it to your computer, or what I like to do is I save it to a micro SD card, and I take it over to my 3D printer. I have a very basic 3D printer that I've had for a number of years. It was very inexpensive. I think I paid I don't know, less than $200 for this. It's called an Ender 3D Pro. It's worked great for me. This is a beginner one. And what you're looking at now is the filament. That's what actually goes through this little tube here. It gets heated in that little box right there. And then there's this little teeny tiny metal or brass extruder nozzle. And that gets very hot, about 200 degrees. So it melts that plastic filament, and then it squirts it out exactly where your slicing program told it to squirt out. And it just builds up these layers and layers and layers and layers. So there are other tutorials out there that can tell you step by step how to do this. But basically what I like to do is I like to use a little skirt around the printing area, and then inside this little skirt, and that skirt is actually kind of like a small little berm or dike. And what that does is that prevents air, cool air, from coming in and prematurely shrinking your print, and that will prevent warp. So it's, you know, it actually has a function. You can kind of see that little square around it, and that serves a function. So, you know, this 3D printer, it just prints in different dimensions, horizontal and vertical, and on the X, Y, and Z axis. You don't really need to know all of that. The slicing program and the 3D printer take care of it all for you. But just keep in mind that it prints in all levels, up and down and forward and across. And that's kind of important when you're setting up your 3D printer. You want to make sure that your little build plate right there, your little printing plate, is very, very, very flat. So what we've been watching is the 3D printing process just kind of sped up, and this is the result. So as you can see, there's the little Venice word. That was a negative that I pulled over from the standard text box. And also there's the little card holder in the front that I created off camera, you know, just so the little pamphlet doesn't fall out. So this is my display shelf, and I like to collect little things when I travel. I was fortunate enough to go to Venice and get this. They're known for glass, so I got this handmade bulb, and I wanted to feature the ornament from Venice as well as the little card that came with it in the display case. And I think it turned out great. So if this is something that you're interested in, or if this video helped you out a lot, you know, please consider hitting that subscribe button. But I'm really happy with this. One was open source and very easy from Thingiverse, and then the other one we actually had to create using the Tinkercad program. So, hey, I hope you liked the video. There it is. And again, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It really helps out a lot for the channel. Thanks a lot, and have a great day.